They say power is lost through weakness alone, but that's a dangerous myth, one that misleads countless men into complacency. Power isn't lost through mere frailty or lack of physical strength. No, power is lost through unchecked, raw emotion that surges without warning or restraint. One single explosive outburst in a moment of frustration, one fleeting but intense moment of unchecked pride that blinds judgment, one careless and impulsive reaction driven by the heat of the instant. And everything a man has painstakingly built over years of effort, sacrifice, and strategy can suddenly and irreversibly turn to nothing but worthless dust scattered in the wind. Because in that pivotal and unforgiving instant, he's no longer thinking rationally or strategically. He's purely feeling, overwhelmed by the flood. And the man who is completely overwhelmed by feeling, no matter how justified it seems in the moment, can be easily and predictably controlled by anyone clever enough to pull the right strings. The world in its current form no longer needs crude physical chains or iron bars to enslave you effectively and keep you in line. It just needs to make you angry enough to lose your cool, make you jealous enough to act against your own interests, make you care far too much about trivial provocations that don't truly matter in the grand scheme. That's precisely how modern power truly and insidiously works behind the scenes in our hyper-connected society. Not through blatant domination, brute force, or overt threats that everyone can see coming from a mile away, but through subtle, calculated, and relentless manipulation of your inner emotional landscape. The strongest and most resilient mind in any room or situation isn't necessarily the one with the loudest voice that drowns out all others, or even the boldest heart that charges fearlessly into the unknown. It's the one that remains perfectly still, composed and observant, while everyone else around it burns with uncontrolled intensity, rage, or desperation. Machiavelli glimpsed this profound and timeless truth long before the age of sophisticated algorithms, social media echo chambers, and digital surveillance took over every aspect of human interaction. He watched powerful rulers in his era lose entire kingdoms and vast territories over simple personal insults that triggered their egos and clouded their vision. He observed great leaders and commanders crumble spectacularly and fall from grace, not from decisive defeat on the battlefield by superior enemies, but from raw, unfiltered emotion taking complete control and overriding all reason. He realized something that most people in our time still don't fully grasp or appreciate, despite all the evidence staring them in the face daily. The one who ultimately controls your emotions in any given situation controls you completely, body and soul. Look around at the chaotic world we all inhabit right now with open eyes. Every sensational headline you encounter is meticulously designed as irresistible bait to hook your attention and reel you in emotionally. Every social media post that crosses your feed is a deliberate provocation crafted to stir you up inside and get a rise out of you. Every heated online argument or comment thread is a cleverly laid trap specifically for your predictable emotional reaction that feeds the system. And when you inevitably take that bait without thinking twice, when you respond in hot anger, cold fear, or blind outrage that consumes you, you're not acting out of any real position of power or independence at all. You're actually performing your own programmed obedience to the larger machine in a way that benefits those pulling the levers behind the curtain. That's the invisible but unbreakable leash of the modern age that keeps the masses docile and compliant. Not traditional censorship that silences voices outright, not physical violence or intimidation tactics, but pure weaponized emotion that does the job far more efficiently and subtly. So the central question we must ask ourselves is no longer simply who's in overt control of governments, corporations, or media narratives. The far more important and urgent question now is, Who exactly controls how you feel deep inside your own mind and body on a moment-to-moment basis? Because once you truly and fully master that critical internal domain for yourself, no one else, no ruler with armies, no system with algorithms, no clever insult or provocation can ever rule or dominate you again in any meaningful or lasting way. And that's precisely what this entire video is dedicated to exploring in exhaustive depth from start to finish. I'm going to break it down meticulously, step by careful step, exactly how Machiavelli understood and harnessed emotional control at its absolute core during his turbulent lifetime. How he skillfully used it to outthink and outmaneuver his numerous enemies on multiple fronts. How he commanded unwavering and fierce loyalty from allies and followers alike, and how he managed to stay completely untouchable and resilient even in the midst of absolute chaos, betrayal, and political upheaval all around him. You'll learn in detail how emotion itself becomes a devastating weapon when wielded by the wrong hands against the unprepared, how to spot in real time when it's being deployed against you in everyday interactions both online and offline, and how to systematically build the kind of deep, unshakable inner composure that makes people instinctively fear and respect your silence far more than they ever could your explosive rage or loud protests. By the time you reach the end of this video and absorb everything laid out here, you won't just see emotion through a completely different and more empowered lens than before. You'll actively wield it in an entirely different, more strategic, and far more powerful way that serves your goals rather than undermining them. Let's begin this transformative journey together right now, without further delay. Somewhere along the twisted path of cultural evolution in recent decades, weakness started cleverly and insidiously calling itself authenticity on a massive scale across society. Men everywhere began to confuse genuine emotional honesty, which has its place in balanced measure, with total and unfiltered emotional exposure without any boundaries, safeguards, or strategic consideration whatsoever, as if simply spilling and broadcasting every single fleeting feeling, thought, or impulse that crossed their minds somehow automatically made them deeper, more relatable, or more enlightened individuals than those who exercised restraint, as if openly embracing and wallowing in personal pain, no matter how trivial or self-inflicted, instantly elevated them to some profound level of wisdom or moral superiority over others who kept their counsel. Society as a whole rewarded this destructive behavior heavily, encouraged it relentlessly through media and education, and turned it into a virtue-signaling arms race. Speak your truth no matter the consequences or context, they said repeatedly like a mantra. Be vulnerable at all costs. Expose your raw core to the world without hesitation, they urged over and over again in books, talks, and viral content. But here's the hidden, sinister, and largely unspoken message embedded deep within that modern gospel of unchecked expression that very few people pause long enough to critically examine. Be as easy to read as an open book left out in the rain for anyone to flip through at will. Be as easy to predict, influence, and ultimately control as a puppet with clearly visible strings attached, and no one pulling them but yourself through your own reactivity. Emotion in its current cultural form has become nothing less than a full-blown religion with its own dogmas, priests, and rituals. And far too many men are worshiping devotedly at its altar without even realizing the trap they're walking into or the price they're paying in lost autonomy. Scroll through your endless social media feed for just a brief moment and really pay attention to the patterns. Every attention-grabbing headline you see screaming for clicks. Every emotionally charged story shared for engagement. Every self-appointed influencer or guru posting their daily sermons is collectively preaching one unified and relentless message loud and clear to the masses. Feel more intensely than you did yesterday. Feel righteous outrage at every injustice, real or manufactured. Feel overwhelming empathy for every cause du jour. Feel profound sadness about every trending tragedy. Feel artificial connection with complete strangers online through shared hashtags and virtue signals. The overarching system, be it social platforms, news outlets, or advertising engines, doesn't want you thinking critically, independently, or deeply about anything of substance for any sustained period. It desperately wants you reacting instantly, reflexively, and predictably to every stimulus thrown your way like a trained animal in a behavioral experiment. Because a man who is always pausing to think deeply and question narratives is inherently dangerous and unpredictable to the powers that be, who rely on compliance and consumption. But an emotional man locked in a cycle of constant reactivity, he's highly profitable in every conceivable sense of the word. He's completely predictable in his trigger responses and behavioral patterns. He's easily programmable like a sophisticated machine learning model, fed endless data points from his own outbursts and engagements. The modern world in all its technological glory has learned and internalized something profoundly manipulative that the cunning princes and advisors of the Renaissance era already knew intuitively through hard-won experience in cutthroat courts. Emotion is by far the easiest, most efficient, and least resource-intensive way to rule and direct the masses without them ever suspecting they're being ruled at all or pushing back in any organized fashion. You don't need a massive standing army or police state to control a single individual man in today's environment anymore, if you play it right. You just need to reliably trigger his personal outrage or insecurity on demand with the right tailored stimulus. You don't need a physical cage or prison cell to hold him back from his potential and keep him in check. You just need to instill and cultivate his deep-seated guilt, shame, or fear of social ostracism deeply enough that he self-polices his own thoughts and actions without external enforcement. And if you can cleverly make him proud of his own volatile emotions as badges of honor, make him sincerely believe that they truly define his core identity and make him real or authentic in a world of fakeness, then he'll never question or even notice the invisible leash wrapped tightly and comfortably around his neck, leading him exactly where the system wants him to go next. Machiavelli himself saw this uncomfortable truth centuries ago in his sharp observations of human nature when he wrote extensively about the overwhelming power of illusion and perception in human affairs and decision-making. He famously declared that men in general are far more moved and swayed by appearances, facades, and emotional resonances than by actual cold truth, hard facts, or empirical reality. In other words, they don't really need or even want solid evidence, logical arguments, or verifiable data to guide their beliefs and actions. They just need strong, visceral feelings that hit them in the gut and make something feel right or wrong in the moment, regardless of objective accuracy. You don't have to painstakingly convince them with pure, airtight logic or mountains of proof that stands up to scrutiny alone if you're smart about it. Only with powerful and targeted emotion that resonates deeply and bypasses the rational mind entirely. The cunning individual or entity who learns to shape and direct what people feel in any given situation ultimately controls what they believe, how they vote, what they buy, and how they behave long-term without them ever realizing the influence. So take a long, hard, and honest look closely at the overwhelming world that surrounds you every single waking day of your life. From the moment you pick up your phone in the morning to the last scroll before bed, you're not being informed in any neutral, balanced, or objective way by design, despite appearances to the contrary. You're being deliberately and systematically emotionally conditioned on a mass scale for specific outcomes that benefit someone else far more than they benefit you. Every breaking news story that suddenly pops up and dominates your feed is carefully crafted and timed bait meant to elicit a specific emotional response from you and millions like you. Every manufactured controversy that trends virally across platforms is a sharp, irresistible hook designed to catch your attention and keep you engaged in outrage or debate for hours. Every sophisticated algorithm running silently in the background on your devices and apps knows exactly which particular flavor of outrage, fear, envy, or tribal loyalty to feed you next in your personalized echo chamber, because it's not primarily designed to educate, enlighten, or empower you as an individual thinker. It's explicitly designed from the ground up to own, monopolize, and monetize your precious and finite attention for as long as humanly possible, while extracting maximum data and behavioral compliance in the process. And the steep, cumulative price you pay personally for that captured and hijacked attention over time is nothing less than your hard-earned focus scattered to the winds, your cultivated inner composure shattered into fragments, your authentic personal power that you willingly give away freely with every reactive click, like, share, or angry comment you make in the heat of the moment. Most men in today's hyperstimulated environment are nothing more than unwitting pawns moving predictably on a vast chessboard in this sprawling emotional economy that quietly runs and dictates everything from politics to consumer trends. Behind the scenes, they habitually mistake wild emotional volatility and mood swings for real depth of character or intellectual sophistication. They routinely confuse raw sensitivity to every slight or trigger for genuine strength, resilience, or moral courage in the face of adversity. But all this misguided cultural programming really means, in the harsh light of reality, is that they've voluntarily and enthusiastically traded their hard-won personal sovereignty and independence for cheap sympathy, fleeting validation, and temporary belonging from strangers online or in their social circles who don't actually care about their long-term well-being. You were told repeatedly growing up in school, media, and pop psychology that embracing and expressing emotion freely makes you fully human, alive, relatable, and emotionally intelligent in a world of repressed robots. But the brutal and unflinching truth that cuts through all the feel-good nonsense is that unchecked emotion primarily makes you highly predictable to anyone who bothers to study your patterns even casually. And in a world that's fundamentally built from top to bottom on sophisticated manipulation, psychological influence, and behavioral prediction at scale, predictability is always, and without exception, the very first critical step toward inevitable defeat, loss of control, and eventual exploitation by those who understand the game better than you do. True power in this context doesn't come from mindlessly expressing every single emotion you feel the instant it arises, like a pressure valve releasing steam without direction or purpose. It comes from carefully and methodically understanding every emotion that attempts to control or derail you from within your own psyche, and then consciously, deliberately choosing silence, restraint, and strategic non-reaction instead as your default response until a calculated action truly serves your higher objectives. So if you genuinely want to rise above all the relentless and deafening noise out there in the digital and social wilderness and reclaim your birthright as a sovereign individual, start right here and now with this foundational principle etched in stone. Stop reacting impulsively and habitually to every little provocation thrown your way, no matter how personal or infuriating it feels in the moment. Stop performing your emotions publicly for an invisible audience seeking entertainment or ammunition to use against you later. Stop mistakenly equating raw, unprocessed feeling with clear, effective, and strategic thinking that leads to real-world wins. The world at large worships emotion in all its chaotic forms because emotional men without exception become total and complete slaves to it, dancing on strings they can't even see. But you, starting today, will absolutely not be one of them ever again under any circumstances. Next up in this deep dive, we'll carefully and systematically dissect the intricate hidden machinery behind all of this emotional manipulation at both the societal and individual levels. Explore the underlying biology of control that makes it all possible and so devastatingly effective, and reveal in exhaustive detail why your own physical body and ancient brain wiring is actually the very first and most dangerous enemy you must learn to conquer decisively on your path to true emotional mastery and unbreakable personal power. Your absolute greatest and most persistent enemy in this lifelong battle for self-sovereignty and influence doesn't live out there in the external world where you can point fingers or fight back directly. It lives deep inside your own skin, wired into your biology from millions of years of evolution that had nothing to do with modern society. It's not the person who mocks, criticizes, or undermines you openly in public or private with their words or actions. It's not the indifferent or hostile external world that resists your ambitions, goals, and efforts at every single turn, no matter how hard you push forward. It's the ancient, primal, and largely unconscious wiring embedded deep in your brain's limbic system, the one that reacts instantaneously and powerfully before your higher rational mind even has a chance to process, evaluate, or intervene in any meaningful way. Every single emotion you ever experience in your lifetime, whether it's sudden fear that grips your chest, explosive anger that clouds your vision red, deep shame that makes you want to disappear, or intense desire that overrides all caution, was originally built, refined, and hardwired through brutal evolutionary pressures for a completely different world than the complex, abstract, and largely symbolic one we navigate today. A savage world filled with immediate physical predators lurking in the shadows, freezing cold nights without shelter or fire, and constant life-or-death survival threats from the environment and other tribes all around, with no safety net or second chances if you hesitated. Back in those unforgiving primitive times where every day was a gamble with death, reacting extremely fast without overthinking or second-guessing kept you and your genes alive long enough to reproduce and pass on those hyper-reactive traits to the next generation. But in our current hyper-connected, information-saturated, and largely safe modern reality, where physical threats are rare for most, but psychological and social ones abound everywhere, reacting that lightning fast simply gets you expertly played, manipulated, and ultimately defeated by others who understand your biology better than you do and exploit it ruthlessly for their gain. Your sophisticated but outdated biology doesn't fully comprehend or adapt quickly to the nuances of modern power games, social dynamics, status signaling, or digital warfare played out in comment sections and boardrooms alike. It only comprehends basic, hardwired survival instincts at its core that scream threat or opportunity and flood your system accordingly without context or proportion. So when you perceive a threat, even in the form of mere words from a colleague, online troll, or romantic partner, be it rejection in a relationship that stings your ego, a perceived failure at work that questions your competence, or a subtle, social slight that triggers your insecurity, your body unleashes the exact same powerful and ancient chemical cocktail it once used to help you escape from actual lions, bears, or rival tribes in the wild, ready to kill you on the spot. Cortisol surges through your bloodstream like wildfire to mobilize energy. Adrenaline pumps hard and fast to sharpen reflexes for fight or flight. The entire sympathetic nervous system goes into overdrive, creating a perfect internal storm of physiological chaos. You clench your jaw tightly without conscious choice. Your pulse races uncontrollably like a drum in your ears, Your vision narrows to a laser-focused tunnel excluding all peripheral awareness. And while your body frantically and efficiently prepares itself for immediate physical battle or escape as if your life depends on it right now, your clear judgment, long-term reasoning, and strategic foresight completely disappear in a puff of biochemical smoke, leaving you vulnerable and exposed. That's exactly what skilled manipulators of all stripes, whether conscious or instinctive, count on happening every single time without fail when they target you specifically, or the masses generally, with their provocations. They don't need to physically overpower you, threaten you with violence, or even argue logically to win the encounter on their terms. They just need to make you highly emotional, reactive, and off balance in the moment by any means necessary. Trigger the right precise and personalized hormone cocktail inside your system at the opportune time, and you'll end up destroying your own position, reputation, relationships, or opportunities for their ultimate benefit without them having to lift a finger or take any real risk themselves. You'll blurt out something utterly reckless and damaging in the heat of anger that you can't take back later, no matter how much you regret it. You'll reveal something deeply personal or strategically sensitive about yourself that you absolutely shouldn't have in a moment of vulnerability or need for validation. You'll impulsively sign a deal, contract, or agreement that's heavily skewed against your interests because desire or fear clouded your discernment. You'll apologize profusely and grovel for forgiveness when you weren't even wrong or at fault, to begin with, just to restore peace and avoid conflict at all costs. Every master manipulator throughout history and in the present day knows this fundamental and exploitable truth about human biology intimately and leverages it without mercy. Control the emotion first and foremost in your target, and you effortlessly control the man entirely. His words, his actions, his decisions, his future trajectory. Machiavelli himself warned ambitious rulers and princes centuries ago about this very same internal peril in his pragmatic writings on power and human nature. He stated plainly and without sugarcoating that a man who cannot master his own nature and impulses will inevitably be mastered by it in the end, no matter how clever or ambitious he may otherwise be. He understood with crystal clarity through ruthless observation that the real and decisive battlefield for power and survival isn't primarily out there in the external world of armies, alliances, and territories where everyone focuses their attention. It's always first and foremost internal within the chaotic landscape of your own mind, body, and emotional responses, where victory or defeat is determined long before any external move is made. If your ancient biology is allowed to dictate and script your behavior unchecked day after day like an autopilot you never learned to override, you're not a true strategist, leader, or independent actor in any meaningful sense. You're just a helpless puppet dancing on neurochemical strings, pulled by evolution, circumstance, or anyone savvy enough to trigger the right response at the right time to serve their agenda, not yours. Think deeply and honestly for a moment about how emotion in its raw form hijacks and undermines your personal power in subtle but profound ways across different domains of life. Sudden fear that grips you in a high-stakes situation makes you hesitate fatally at the exact critical moment when bold and decisive action is desperately needed to seize an opportunity or avert disaster. Explosive anger that boils over without warning makes you impulsive, prone to catastrophic errors in judgment, and likely to burn bridges you can't rebuild later no matter how much hindsight you gain. Blind love or infatuation in relationships makes you completely blind to glaring red flags, manipulative behaviors, or long-term incompatibilities that more objective eyes would spot immediately and avoid. Crippling guilt engineered by others or self-imposed makes you overly obedient to demands, expectations, or social norms that don't align with your true interests or values, just to avoid discomfort or disapproval. And pride, oh, destructive. Pride in all its forms. It makes you careless, overconfident, and dismissive of risks or feedback in situations where humility and caution are the only wise paths to sustainable success. Every single one of these common emotions you experience regularly is like a dangling string or exposed wire, waiting patiently and vulnerably for someone smarter, more patient or more calculated than you, to come along at the perfect moment and pull it hard to elicit the exact reaction that serves their purposes while derailing yours completely. That's precisely why true coldness in decision-making and response, meaning calculated emotional neutrality rather than cruelty or lack of empathy, isn't some form of moral failing or sociopathy. It's precise calibration, self-control, and strategic mastery in its purest form. It's the refined and disciplined art of consciously pausing, however briefly but deliberately, between a strong emotional impulse firing in your body and mind and the resulting outward action or words you allow to escape into the world. It's quietly acknowledging to yourself in the heat of the moment, I feel this powerful and overwhelming thing surging through me right now with real intensity, and then immediately following up with the game-changing question that shifts everything. Who exactly stands to benefit the most if I show, express, or act on it impulsively without thinking it through first? That one simple but profound, internal question asked consistently in triggering moments alone separates the true ruler who dictates terms from the endlessly ruled who react on autopilot and regret it later when the damage is already done and irreversible. Psychologists and neuroscientists in modern times now confirm through rigorous experiments, brain imaging, and behavioral studies what Machiavelli already practiced intuitively and effectively in his dangerous era, based on keen observation of court politics and human frailty. The human mind operates fundamentally with two distinct and sometimes competing systems, working in tandem, but often at odds with each other under stress. One system is fast, automatic, highly emotional, and incredibly reactive. It's the inner animal, the primal brain honed by evolution for immediate survival in life or death scenarios where hesitation meant extinction. The other system is slow, deliberate, deeply rational, and strategically calculating. It's the higher executive function, the inner strategist capable of long-term planning, impulse control, and nuanced decision-making in complex social environments. Most ordinary people live out their entire lives and eventually die operating almost exclusively in the grip of the first reactive system, bouncing from one emotional trigger to the next like pinballs in a machine they don't control. But the rare individuals who consistently rise to the absolute top of whatever hierarchy or field they enter, the true rulers, master tacticians, effective kings, and visionary leaders, they make a conscious and habitual choice to operate from the second system as much as humanly possible, even when it's uncomfortable or counterintuitive in the moment, because they understand the massive compound advantages it provides over time. They know full well from experience or study that emotion in all its forms will always knock persistently and loudly on the door of their mind, trying to gain entry and take the wheel. But they never, under any circumstances, allow it to grab the driver's seat and steer the carriage off the intended path toward their goals, no matter how tempting or biologically compelling the detour feels in the short term. Here's the profound and actionable secret to unlocking all of this potential within yourself starting today. Emotion at its essence is nothing more than raw, undirected energy surging through your nervous system. Powerful, neutral, and abundant, but chaotic and destructive if left to its own devices without guidance or container. You can't ever fully erase, delete, or permanently silence your deepest biological instincts and emotional responses completely, because they're an integral and hardwired part of being a living, breathing human being with a mammalian brain. Attempting to do so through suppression or denial only leads to eventual explosions, breakdowns, or psychological brittleness that cracks under pressure when you need resilience most. What you must do instead, what the masters have always done, is learn to consciously weaponize and redirect those instincts effectively for your own strategic benefit, rather than allowing them to weaponize you against yourself and your interests. Unchanneled anger can be transformed and refined into ironclad discipline that fuels consistent action over time. Sudden fear can become heightened alertness, preparation, and contingency planning that anticipates problems before they arise. Intense desire can turn into unstoppable drive, motivation, and focused ambition that moves mountains others deem immovable. Every single emotion you experience, no matter how negative or disruptive on the surface, has a higher, more useful, and empowered form waiting to be unlocked and harnessed if you develop the awareness and skill to access it deliberately rather than reacting blindly. The weak and unprepared individuals inevitably drown helplessly in their overwhelming feelings, like a ship taking on water with no way to bail it out before sinking. The strong and disciplined ones carefully refine, channel, and distill those same turbulent feelings into powerful, effective, and goal-aligned strategy that serves their ascent rather than their downfall. The very next time you feel provoked, triggered, or emotionally charged by someone or something in your environment, whether it's overt disrespect from a peer that hits your pride, a subtle test of your boundaries by a manipulator probing for weaknesses, or an unexpected challenge that threatens your status or plans, remember this crucial and liberating insight without fail, no matter how intense the surge feels internally. That powerful rush of emotion flooding your system isn't a sign of authentic power, strength, or moral righteousness, as culture wants you to believe. It's just a clever, ancient, and largely automatic chemical trick played by your own biology to prepare you for threats that no longer exist in the same form but still elicit the same disproportionate response. Your opponent, rival, or manipulator in that moment doesn't even need to physically hit, harm, or directly confront you in any tangible way to gain the upper hand and win the exchange. He just needs to cleverly and patiently make you hit, harm, or undermine yourself through your own uncontrolled reaction that hands victory to him on a silver.